Business Takeout presents
The Cocktale Hour with Alain Wade.
What's up, everybody? It's your girl. This is Alain Wade, aka Cocktails with LA, aka you're in the Cocktale Hour. And today we are here with the beautiful and handsome and intelligent and well-traveled Mr. Alain P. Arthur. Welcome to the show, Alain.
Thanks for having me, LA.
You're welcome. Before we get started, I just want to give a shout out to Business Takeout, who presents the Cocktale Hour. Business Takeout works really hard to inspire Black wealth and Black entrepreneurship, and this is no different. So the Cocktale Hour likes to have intimate yet sobering conversations with our guests, and a big part of that is because we're trying to find out what you thirst for in life. And if you do any kind of Google search about this man right here, you will know that his thirst is definitely for Caribbean culture. Is that correct, Alain?
100%. I love the Caribbean through and through. Whatever island you're from, I think there's so much uniqueness to us as a people, for our culture, for what we do for the world. That little small region affects the world in so many different ways.
Wow. And I know over the amount of time that you've done that show, that is exactly what you have, shared with all of us, but also discovered intimately for yourself. Now, I'm going to get into a lot of what you do with Caribbean Vibrations, but I wanted to give a little snippet of how I came to know you in the first place and how this interview happened. Back in, I think it was 2019, I started a podcast called Cocktails with LA, and I had no idea what I was doing. I came from the university, and I just wanted to travel and get the love, sex, dating, and relationship stories of people all over. And I learned about the Caribbean Vibrations real estate cruise, which I know is happening again in 2023. COVID gave you a little hiccup, gave us a little hiccup, because I was happy. That cruise was really eye-opening for me, and on so many different fronts, not only from somebody doing a show, but also from the real estate, which is what the purpose of the cruise was for. Do you want to touch a little bit about the Caribbean Vibrations real estate cruise?
Yeah, so it's interesting that we're talking about Black wealth and entrepreneurship and empowerment, because we had a client who had hired, so there's myself and my business partner, Tony Ann Thomas. She's director behind the scenes. So her and I work together congruently. And we had the opportunity where someone's like, hey, we're doing a real estate cruise. We want you guys to come film. Why don't you come along? We're like, travel to the Caribbean? No worries.
We're here.
So we're there. So we went down. They brought us down, and we went on this celebrity cruises was them as well. And we went down, and we're like seeing all these beautiful properties. But the one thing that we noticed is that no one of the melanin persuasion was really there. So we started to think, and we like, this is interesting because it's a great opportunity. We're looking at different properties, not even like super expensive ones. Some were brand new ones, some were older ones, some were like in pre-construction. And we're like, we think a lot of our people from the diaspora would want to know, because the presumption is that, okay, I'm from Jamaica, I'm going to buy a property in Jamaica. It's not like that anymore. Someone who is of Jamaican parentage might say, you know what, Costa Rica has some really good prices, and I might want to go down there. So what we decided to say, you know what, we should be having these conversations amongst ourselves about generational wealth, because I'll give you Jamaica as an example. Jamaica is booming. There's so much things going on. They built this huge port, all these different things. And the thing with them is like, people don't realize there's two airports. There's Montego Bay, so Sanctuary International, and then there is Norm Manley in Kingston.
Yeah.
They have a third airport in St. Anne called James Bond International. And they just decided they're going to make it bigger. So that will probably they're talking about doing a fourth airport. So when I talk to anybody with land in Jamaica or anything, I'm like, look, you need to understand they are trying to really do more there. They're going to be building another toll road to help. Again, the biggest thing is they had to cut through the island to get from Montego Bay to Kingston. They're looking at doing not a series per se, but they're improving all the highways, so travel becomes so much easier and so much flexibility, because there's a lot of still untapped land in Jamaica, and the reason why is because you can't get to it.
Right.
So I hope they don't do too much, because I enjoy Jamaica the way that it is,
right.
But I also understand that they do want to take advantage of some of the things there, but we don't want to build it up too much, because Jamaica it's beautiful.
I think that's a big problem in the Caribbean, expansion while keeping it, unique and authentic to the island itself. I just want to say hi to Fraser Ramsey, who's tuning in. I can't remember where you're from, Fraser, but all is well, and I'm welcome to the Cocktail Hour. And I hope you're going to enjoy our guests and learn some things about the Caribbean and Alan in particular. What's up, Al?
What's up, Fraser?
I would say that, when I was looking for information, Scotland. Okay, big up yourself, Scotland.
Is he a Glasgow Rangers fan? Where are you from in Scotland, my friend?
Yes, where are you from? And are you a fan? Glasgow, right?
Glasgow Rangers.
Yeah.
Glasgow Rangers, yes.
Yeah.
But you were saying, sorry, interrupted.
Sorry. I was trying to find some information about, the man, Alain P. Arthur. And that seems to be a little bit more ambiguous than I would realize, because everything that seems to exist with you has to do with Caribbean vibrations. It's almost like there's Edinburgh Hearts fan. There you go.
They're good team. Okay, all right.
There you go. There's no difference between you and Caribbean vibrations. It's like you Google you and you're only going to get information about Caribbean vibrations. Why is this?
Well, I mean, we've kind of done that, synonymously, because we started the brand 18 years ago. It was myself and my wife at the time, Royette, and one of the things that we saw, there wasn't, and you got to remember, this is a different landscape almost 20 years ago. There wasn't a lot of positive representation of Black and in particular Caribbean people. Mm-hmm. When something would go wrong, in crime, and we'd scurry, and hopefully you don't see a Black person on TV, or you would hear that they're Jamaican, and we were just like, that's just false news. Like, I don't want to use that misnomer, but it just, for us, we knew a lot of people who are hardworking. Our parents who came up as immigrants, they're working hard. All our friends who are at university and college or have jobs. So it's like, we're like, no, that's not the truth. So we came up with the idea. So Roy had a background in broadcasting. Mine was in marketing. And we came with the idea for the show, and we pitched it to a bunch of networks and got rejected. And funny enough, one of my friends who worked at Rogers said, hey, do you know they're starting a new multicultural station? We're like, what? So we ended up reaching out to Omni, and we had some conversation with them, and they were like, yeah, we're looking for definitely some type of program like this. So kudos to Omni, because 20 years ago they were about this programming, about
cutting edge, really.
Yeah, they were ahead of the time, with saying that, hey, we want some multicultural programming. Right. So there was us, and we've been on since then. So that was 2013. So now we're heading into season 19. But it's always been, like myself, my background is, I was born in England, raised in Barbados for a couple of years before I came here. And I was lucky enough, my mother would send me home every summer to Barbados. So I'd be there for crop over, or canoement, as they say. And I would have a really good time. But then as I got older, I started to be more in tune with my hip-hop culture. And I still go to Caravana, but I was more into the hip-hop. And funny enough, I went to university of Windsor. I started meeting all my West Indian friends, because we did Carissa and all these Black Student Association, all these amazing things. And it got me more in tune with my Caribbean culture again. And, when I actually met my wife, I met my wife at a soca fete, of all things, of course. So she was treated to the bone. And it just, again, when we decided also, so there's two reasons we started the show. One, to show positive representation. And then also, two, we felt that as Black people, we travel. And up until that point, they never really talked to us about travelers. They talked about us going home, sending barrels home. But we just knew a lot of people who, they had finished university or college, or they just had a good job, and they would be like, I'm going to Vegas. Or so back then people would say, you know what, it's crazy, I think I'm going to go to Europe. And it's so normalized now, but for our people, that was like, I'll just go to Jamaica, or I'll just go somewhere. Yeah. But they were like, no, I travel. And we wanted to say to the tourism boards, look, this audience, this affluent Black audience, they'll travel. They don't need to come home. Some of them will think about it, hey, I don't want to go home because I got to bring food home. I'll go somewhere else.
I want to go somewhere where my family, I'm not with my family.
Exactly. So we really started to say to them, look, we're going to travel, and we want to show the different sides of the Caribbean, because everybody knows the sun, sand, sea. So we really started to make a focus on the food, on the culture, on different people living there. Like, for example, for the longest time, I don't know if they're still doing it, I think it's every Monday or Tuesday in Turks and Caicos, they have a hockey game, because there's a bunch of Canadians down there. Yeah, they have a hockey game.
Has a hockey game?
Hockey game, right?
What?
Like, even Barbados for a while had a rink. Like, there's some crazy stuff, right? So it's like, when we tell people these things, they're like, no, it's not just sun, sand, sea. Great food, great culture, so many different things to do down there. So again, yeah, you can do a lot of things on one island, but there's other islands who do different things. So, for example, if you're very much a person, there's not much. If you're, I know you like your wine, LA. Am I correct? You're a wine
I've
person.
just come to learn to like wine, really.
Okay, I'm a wine novice, but there's a beautiful place in Bahamas which has all these amazing wines. I'm more of a rum guy, so I do
Is
a lot of
that
the
going to
rum.
be a stop?
Well, we'll think about it. We'll think about
Well,
it in
if
the next
it's
one.
not, those who are coming with cocktails with LA, we can make it a stop.
There you go. There you go.
Yes.
One of the things we did as well too was when we were in where was it, Aruba? No, Bonaire. We went to this place it's called Caduce,
Okay.
and it's liquor made from cactus.
Oh wow. Oh yeah, that's kind of like how tequila is made.
Yeah, well, yeah, from the agave. But so I mean, there's so many different things depending on what you want to do. If you just want, so we just started to realize there's more and more things out there from a cultural standpoint because you know about the Emancipation Day, they talk about bust of the slave in Barbados. So there's just so much different things going on in the Caribbean, and we felt that as people from the diaspora with a Canadian context, we can show what's going on up here because a lot of times too we do cover a lot of things here, and again, why you find that there's not much about me per se is just because Roy was in the front, and then unfortunately she passed on, and then I kind of took over. But we've always felt the show, for me, it's about who's ever just in front of the camera. So it could be you one time hosting for us, because we just bring in all these different people who could help us to tell the best stories from the Caribbean and the diaspora. So
okay,
yeah.
Wow. Okay, so you touched on a couple of things that. First of all, I just want to give, I know you hear this every single time you talk about Caribbean Vibrations. They can't talk about it without Royette. And that usually follows with, she was amazing.
She was.
Because she was.
And the funny things too, on Saturday it'll be 10 years that we lost her.
Oh, wow.
I know.
Wow.
I know, 10 years.
But I know that you have new love. And that in and of itself is a blessing. But Royette really did kind of carve the way for this show and for what you. I'm like, this man doesn't have to really work. He travels and and he has.
But yeah, she did an amazing job. She can never be replaced. You know what I mean? And that's why we try to bring in different people to do different things. Yes. And I put my own spin on stuff. But it's fun because again, at the end of the day, we're about anything that, and this is another thing that we really Tony and I try to focus on is positive things coming out of our community. We can do a lot of gossip stuff and this is going on, but we're like, there's enough of that. What about people doing stuff? What about the business leaders, the people we were lucky enough, we've gone to a lot of awards show, and we went to UE Alumni Awards, and I met Shirley Thompson, who is a composer, pianist, violinist from the UK, who's done, she did the London Olympics, composed for them, she's performed for the Queen, amazing woman, originally from Jamaica. So we have so many talented people in our community. Yeah. So I mean, when we sit there and we look at it holistically, it's an honor, to meet so many people like yourself, very talented, and they're from our community and they love our culture. Yes. So that's another thing too. It's not just okay, my parents are Jamaican, I forgot about everything that's Jamaican or Trini or St. Lucian. They're like, no, I'm a product of that, and they're very proud of it, and we love that.
Yes, and I love how the show really. There's an integration that seems to be a part of the show that is very seamless in the way that it celebrates the Caribbean, not just big up Jamaica or not just, Trinidad. And it's very much like when you're giving the love to the island, you're giving the love to the island, but it doesn't feel disconnected from your experience if you don't even belong to that island. It really is educational in that manner and breaks down walls instead of keeping a distance from one another culturally. And there's so many things to learn about the cooking. The cooking is such a big part of this show.
As you can tell, I was probably 50 pounds lighter before I started hosting the show because the food is fantastic. I mean, we've been so blessed. We love food already, so we'll do food restaurants up here. And that's kind of another reason when we started doing it, we would do a lot of concerts and we would do restaurant profiles. Yes. So we would go, and for us, it was really more of, let's be real here. In our community, we could have some good food but bad service. So for us, it was really about celebrating the restaurants who did it right, because we felt that first of all, our food is all made to order, and we should look. I don't like paying $30 for oxtail, but that's the price because A, the price has gone up, and B, people gotta pressure cook it. They gotta do all these things. So it's not don't compare it to McDonald's, and you're paying $20 at McDonald's. People can't compare these things because McDonald's just frozen everything, and they bring it there.
Exactly. This is
When
fresh
these guys make their
food.
oxtail and all this stuff, they do a lot of hard work. So
Yeah.
for us as Caribbean people, yeah, I don't like paying some of these prices, but I also understand the value of it. And our food now is taking more of an international flair. There's a lot more people doing more fusion.
Yes.
I can recommend so many different islands for so much good food. I mean, you were on the cruise with us. We got to eat so much good food. We go to so
So
many
good.
different places. We're going to be doing a food tour next year. We're going to be going to St. Martin
Ooh.
to bring people the food tour and stuff like that. So food is amazing. I mean,
Yes.
and the best thing is too, we love the fact that people they'll always come up to me and they'll recommend restaurants, and that's how we found out a lot of restaurants in the beginning. We would basically someone would tell us about it, and we kind of send a spy in, right? Because sometimes if I show up, I get good service. We send
Yes.
our spy in, and they'll be like, "Yeah, these guys.
Yeah,
Oh
this
my
was the
God,
real deal.
yeah." Because I mean, we don't want because we want it to be. I'll give you an example. Unfortunately, Barbados is my island, and my mom is St. Lucia. My dad's Bajan.
Okay.
This was when I was around, and her and I were there for. I think we were there for crop over or something else, and we went into this restaurant that my cousin told me about, and everybody's just waiting around. It's kind of so hum service, and then I spoke. All of a sudden these people are like doing all this extra stuff, and it bothered me because I'm Bajan too, so I don't have my
Mm.
accent or anything. But I remember I called the manager on after, and I was like, and I told him, I said, we're from a TV show in Canada. I said I wanted to do a feature on here, but I don't feel comfortable anymore because, truthfully, we're a business for you. I understand during high season, but these
Yeah.
people are here all the time, and I think you really need to realize that you need to take care of them. As much as you take care of me, take care of them the same way. And it kind of rubbed me the wrong way. So sometimes when we go to these places and we're dealing with the tourism industry, I always say to them, remind you the local is so important.
The
The local
local
people
is
are
so
so important.
important.
Yeah, we fly in, we spend some money, but they're there all the time. And they can be a great value and resource. And they got to sometimes don't forget that. So,
It's
yeah.
true. So in a way, the show is also like an advocate for the people on the island as well.
hmm
Well,
I
and
would think so. I
I
mean,
think I've seen episodes where you've gone into somebody's kitchen. Like you've
oh,
also
yeah.
been
Oh, yeah.
very local, like beyond the restaurants. You went in to
hmm
see the people and how they do
hmm
what they do.
hmm
Yeah, it is a
Because
very unique show.
And we appreciate that because, I mean, when we do that kind of stuff, it's really because we've heard about somebody. Like, I'll give you an example. When we were in St. Martin one time, there was a gentleman who used to be like an executive chef at a hotel. And when they had their first hurricane, it's got to be about 25 years ago, he was out of a job. So he just started to barbecue under a tree, and he was called Johnny's Under the Tree. And he has the best food on the island. Like,
He's under
so
a
we just
tree.
go to Johnny under the tree. And there's so many stories of just regular home chefs who can cook anything. They
It's
might not
so
have the
cool.
traditional training, but they just have this. What is it called? The sweet hand. They have the sweet
Yeah,
hands. Yeah.
and they usually learn it from their grandmothers.
Oh, and that's a
Almost.
big part of things too. You're 100% right. Even with all these amazing male chefs, where they learn it from? The grandma.
Yes.
And the grandma has to get the homage, and the mom has to get homage for giving them that love and giving them that understanding. And I don't know, the mechanics would say it's a hand, but making them understand about food. Because a lot of them in the beginning, they cook and they don't tell you like what they put in. They just
Yes, they just put
and
dash
then
of
it's
this
so
and a
good.
ditch of this and but that would
Exactly.
be a really cool Mother's Day show is to see
Oh
chefs
yeah.
with their grandmothers. That would
hmm
be
Well,
amazing.
funny enough, we are working on something like that. I gotta keep a hush hush, but we are working on something like that.
I love that. I love it. I love it. I love it. So you talked about when you were creating the show, and this is for the Black entrepreneurs who are kind of in the industry trying to learn their way. When you're thinking about pitching a show like this, how do you like you had all of these different ideas? How do you funnel it down to make it make sense for broadcast purposes?
Well, depending on the broadcaster you're going for, the one thing you have to do, and we're looking to get more broadcast partners. So one thing you always got to do is research the partner you're looking to do. You can't go and try to talk to our broadcaster and not know what they're pushing.
Right.
And then at the same time too, you got to look at the way that their stuff is to see kind of like, do you fit in? Is their show similar to yours already? And then
Is
you can
that a
take one of two
deterrent?
ways. Well, I mean, like for example, say I go to Travel Channel, they might be a black host hosting a travel show. For them, I'm not saying Travel Channel does that. That might be like, okay, we got our black show.
Yeah.
Maybe not.
We hit our quota.
Or it might be another guy who's doing Caribbean stuff. So we got our Caribbean show, right? So you really have to figure out how you're going to stand out and be more unique, right?
What is this person
So
saying?
another thing too, yeah. Put some
Put
ancestors on it.
spices till the ancestors whisper. That's enough.
Yes,
Exactly,
Ryan.
Ryan.
100%. 100%. And then, so for example, another thing some people do is they'll just do a one pager. Especially the more experienced producers who have the connections with the broadcaster, they just do a one pager. I always say for new producers, actors, people trying, I always say do a pilot or a demo. Show them that you can do it, because you can write stuff down, but if you can't show them you can do it, that's different. And it's interesting. And I'll deviate for a second. The industry right now is at a place I think is good for young black entrepreneurs, because when I started 20 years ago, broadcast would only take Betacam. And Betacam was expensive. I remember I had to pay my guys back then like anywhere from $500 to $1,000 a day because they had a Betacam. And then for post-production would cost me at least $2,000 back then, right?
Wow.
Because it's a rich guy's game. This industry is not for, so a lot of us have barriers to that money. So I was lucky enough I was able to navigate. One, I got to big him up real quick. This guy, Alain P, he's an amazing camera guy. We did our first show, and this is how technology changed from when we started was everything was Betacam. Then they had this thing called a PD150, which was a Sony camera, which had a certain chip that was broadcast quality, right?
Okay.
So it was smaller, but still, camera's $8,000. That's a lot of money, right?
It is.
Especially back then as you're starting off. But we were able to rent it. So the first trip we went to Barbados and Grenada for Carnival and Crop Over.
Big up
And we had a scene. Yeah, of course. Job. So we had a scene in Barbados on the water, and I remember it so distinctly because we had Roy with the camera, and we didn't have a wireless mic, and we were trying to not show the camera wire, but the wire was in the water and all kind of stuff. It was hilarious. So Marlon called me, and he's like, "Yo, what are you doing?" I even know this guy from Adam, right? And he calls me, and he's like, and he's like, "Yo," and then so he left me a message, and I called him back, and I'm like, "Hey, what's up?" He's like, "Look, you're doing this. He's originally from Tobago, and he gave me some advice." And I was like, "Oh man, I'd really like to work with you." It's like, you know what? No problem. And that's another thing we've been lucky where other people who are more experienced than us has kind of, come and say, "Hey, you should try it this way," and so forth. Yes. And that helps as well too, because as entrepreneurs, I find too much times as black people, we do need mentors, because I still do need a mentor. I'm always looking for one, but also we need to be able to mentor in the right way. So if someone is trying to give us some help, we can't get offended. Sometimes we get our back up and bristled. He might have called in a certain type of way, but all I heard from him was like, "You guys need to do better, and here's how you can do better." But sometimes people be like, "Oh, I don't want you talking to me. You don't know nothing." No, there's a lot of people out there trying to help you because they want to see you win. Because it's like I'll say to my son too, when people see you trying, they're gonna help. But if you're just talking, no one's gonna do nothing. But when they see you trying and you're out there and you're working in your craft, they're gonna be like, "How can I help this person?" Yeah. And that's why I know he came and he wanted to do stuff with us, because he was like, "I see you guys. I see what you're doing." So,
yeah. There's a lot of gatekeepers in Toronto in particular.
Oh my gosh.
And you're successful at where you've gotten, but it's not like you can only help so much based on what you have available to you also. So I find that we put a lot of pressure on those of us who are melanated, who are in positions of where other people want to go. But it's not like there's a whole, dim sum of people of programming that we have here in Toronto that allows us to all do it. What do they expect
the good thing is, there are more opportunities, but I also feel that, we're going to have more opportunities coming down the pipeline because things are going to be changing. I applaud CBC GEM. They are doing more for the black people, right? Now, I haven't reached out to them at all, but I see them doing programming, which is good. Some of it I don't like, some of it I think is good. But they're doing more than the other networks, right? The other networks have a couple of things every once in a while, but they're doing more. I think you'll see at some point another black network that will come along. We have Afro Global. People should. That's another thing too. Like for example, we have channels, so we have got to support. So for example, FIFA can't get better if we're not buying, if we're not subscribing, right? Afro Global can't get better. I know, but it's kind of a chicken and egg thing.
Yeah,
right? Because now you got to put up the money. They're putting up their own money without getting the support. Because here's the way I feel. With those organizations, you got to give them at least a year. Give them a year of your money. That's like maybe $40. We spend that out of the club, So it's like you give them $40 for the year. See what they do in a year. If it's the same old stuff, you can be like, "I tried," but we hold ourselves to a higher standard than anybody else. When something goes wrong with us as black people, we just, I can't deal with any black
We
people.
dash them out the window. Like, I'm done with
So it's
you.
like, well, the same way, like Rogers and all that, we'll take their crap. We have to learn to be more forgiving to each other because we don't have the same resources as each other as some of these other places do, and to support. Like you see how many, and I know you know a lot of them. How many black people we have breaking glass ceilings still?
Yeah.
Think about that.
Yes.
First this, whenever I see a first this, I'm like, because this means it's been too long overdue.
2022.
And it's still first.
It's still
first hired for this job, first hired for that. But I mean, getting back to the technology, and that was the point I was trying to go to, because now you have the SLRs and you have the phones and everything. Technology has changed the game. So if you want to pitch a show, you just have to figure out what your strategy is. Do you want to do it yourself? Because like there are some people who are influencers who are making a good career.
Yes.
Like they sign up with an agency, they know how to do the content that they want to do and the way they want to do it. So now it's changed, because before you need that big camera, you need that access. Now through all these platforms, even like for example, us speaking here today, there wasn't many channels I'd be showing two black people talking about business, and entrepreneurship.
True,
right?
Yeah.
But big up Banky, big up you.
I see you, Oliver. We see you. I think Oliver's out in Ghana, but he's from Jamaica.
Oh, wicked.
It's such a fascinating. I love how Africa and the Caribbean are intermingling. They're like doing this new dance, and I big up your island, Barbados, Miss Mia Motley, for the way that she is really moving forward with this idea of the global African.
Well, I mean, it is a smart thing to do, and the unfortunate thing for us was we were taught that we weren't connected. It's only now through the knowledge and us growing up and the internet helping out of how we were connected. Because let's be real, when we were growing up before, they're African, they're Caribbean, and they had this misinformation about each other. One of the best things we ever did was we had an opportunity to go to Seychelles. Nice. And for those who don't know, Seychelles in the Indian Ocean, it's right kind of like around Madagascar, not far from South Africa. And when we had the opportunity to go there, we were going with Ethiopian Airlines. And we said, Tony and I were like, we can't go to like land in Ethiopia and not do something in Africa. So we ended up doing a trip to Africa, to Ethiopia as part of our show. So we went to Ethiopia, and it is like every black person needs to go back to a country in Africa, whether you want to go to Ghana, whether you want to Nigeria, South Africa, Rwanda, Kenya. We have to get over what Western society tells us what Africa is like. Africa has its good and its bad, just like Toronto.
Just like Toronto. Just like Jamaica.
So it's like,
just like Grenada.
Yeah, exactly. And, and again, the wealth has been taken from Africa, but not the spirit. And there's so much people doing so many amazing things. And that's why we, like, at the end of the day, that's that. And I'll go on a little tangent. That's the honest fear. The fear of people who don't like us is that they feel that once we're in power, we're going to treat them like them.
Right.
We don't care about all that stuff. That's not what we're about. We just want everybody to be good. That's why we like the lime and all. We just want everybody to be good because we know there's enough. The universe provides for everyone. So don't just keep taking. So when we went to Ethiopia, oh my gosh, we went to this temple. Is it temple? In Lake Tana, and we were on a boat for like 2 hours to get to this place.
Oh wow!
And I'll give you, So we were there, and when we went there, we saw all the. I didn't know, like for example, in the Ethiopian Orthodox faith, they have 9 biggie drums, and they have 2 types of drums: one for the New Testament and one for the Old Testament.
What?
And then we went and we saw all these drawings of the Bible, but everybody was black, right? So it was really cool, right? So all this stuff was, all these different. Everybody's black, curly hair, and everything. So then now, when we were taking the boat back, we ended up driving back, and so we were in a place in the middle of an island. In the middle of a lake. So we were in the middle of a lake. So we went back now, and then we found another temple that was on a peninsula. And I didn't know what peninsula meant until I asked the guy. Peninsula is like Florida. So you have water on both sides, but it's like a little strip of land, right? So you can still drive there, but it's water on both sides.
Yeah.
Same thing. We were in another temple. All the drawings were on the wall, but people were lighter. So we asked him, how come the people were lighter? He goes, oh, well, maybe about 100 years ago, Portuguese missionaries came to help us restore
and
the
they
drawings.
changed the people? That shit is real.
Mm-hmm.
Wow. And I love
Yeah.
that you asked that question. You know?
Because we noticed it. We noticed it. We kept going to because it's funny when we went to Ethiopia, and it's unfortunately also something happening there. But when we went there, it was like you go, oh, you see the black people, and it's to the point where I don't want to be rude, but I'd see a white person, I'm like, what are they doing here? What are they up to? Because it was so foreign. Because you were just everybody, and funny enough, we went to where Haile Selassie's dad, when he was in charge, he had I forgot, Gondar in the middle. And he had a big castle, and all his kids had castles. And the reason why they were in the middle of it is because then their castles were around, no one could attack from any side. They could always see everybody coming in.
Right.
And that's why
Circling
they
the
had it.
wagons.
Circling the wagons. And funny enough, so the last day, Tony and I were like, yo, we need to go to Sheshamami. And if anybody knows about Rastafarian faith, that's where Haile Selassie said, I have an acre of land for you, so you need to come. And all these Rastas left and went to Ethiopia and Sheshamami. So
Crazy.
we went to Sheshamami. And it was crazy because I met a guy from Dominica, Jamaica, Trinidad, and it's like, oh my God. But
wait. That reminds me that there would be a great show if you guys could talk about how all of the African islands that have dropped the visas to go to particular places if you're from
Ghana's
Caribbean.
like that. Yeah, Ghana's like that.
I was just in Nairobi, and they have that too. If I was if I used my Grenada passport, I wouldn't have had to buy a visa. So there's a lot of that going on there.
Yeah, I love, and that's what we need to do because we have this not just monetary, but a mind, intellectual property that can be, because we all think alike in a lot of ways, and there's ways for us to expand across economies and just get connections because again we're in tune with each other, right?
Right.
So when we went to Sheshamami, and here's a funny story. So my fiance, she's from Dominica.
Yes.
And
a beautiful spirit. I can tell just from her smile. You can feel.
Oh, she's amazing.
Yeah.
She puts up with all my crap. That's all I gotta say. I love her. So we went to Sheshamami, and we're talking to everybody. So the guy, we went and we met with I can't remember the Rastafarian Association there. He broke down when he came there, all this stuff. So then they're like, oh, you got to meet the medicine man. You got to meet the medicine man. So I go out now, and there's this tall, fair-skinned guy. And I started talking to him, and he's like, hey, how you doing? And we're talking. He's like, so we talked to him about the herbs and stuff that he uses and so forth. And I said, so where are you from? Dominica.
What are you doing here?
So then he's like, okay, so I said, okay, this is crazy. So I said, my fiance, she's, her family's from Dominica. It's cool. He's like, oh, what's the last name? I go, Alain, right? And he's like, oh, I know Alain. He goes, tell them what, he goes, I'll find out about Desmond Trotter. I'm like, Desmond Trotter? What? So the way the story goes was, and this is something I do want to do some research on myself. There used to be, what's it called? The Dread Act in Dominica. And what that was about almost 50 years ago, where Rastafarians were being persecuted to the point now if you felt a Rasta was doing a crime, you could harm them and not feel any repercussion.
What?
So the way the story, if you look it up, Dread Act, it's a real thing, right?
That's crazy.
So this Desmond Trotter story is, and this is crazy because you're gonna go on Wikipedia now. I'm gonna blow your mind, right? so Desmond Trotter now he was a Rasta, and the way the story goes is at night, someone heard a scream, and a tourist got killed, and she said that he did it. So, and I'm just throwing you the Coles notes. So he went to trial, and funny enough, Jillian's uncle was his lawyer, right? That's how crazy the world is, right? So so he ended up getting convicted, okay? He ended up getting convicted, and he was appealing it and so forth and all this stuff, right?
Yes.
Consequently, at the same time this happened, Dame Eugenia Charles, if I said her name, she was the first female prime minister in the Caribbean. Yeah, she's from Dominica, right? She had an election. She beat a guy who was like in charge of her military. Okay? He decided he wanted to do a coup. Right? Got a guy. Hold on. He involved 2 Canadians. Right?
What?
And these Canadians were white extremists. White. I'm telling you, you gotta go look this stuff up. I don't make it up, right? Right? So what they were trying to do is they were trying to bring enough military force. Dominica's small. Try to bring enough military force to overthrow them.
Yes.
So they had they called this guy about getting a plane, and they're telling him what they were going to do to Dominica because they wanted it like a Cuba, remember all this stuff. So
Yes, Grenades is
they
involved
called
in
the
the
guy.
Cuba thing.
Exactly, with this all with the Morris Bishop. Okay, so now they call the guy about the plane, and the plane's like, he's like, this is fishy. He calls his DEA friends, so they set up a whole sting, all right? And I can't remember the exact thing, but yeah, it's that's what. So while all this stuff was happening with the whole trying to do the coup and stuff like that, at the same time too, there was lax on prison, and the way they explained to me, Desmond, it was lax on the prison and stuff like that too. So he was able to walk out the jail,
Man.
licked some people, stayed in the bushes for a while, then jumped on a plane, Shashamania.
Oh my God,
It's
that's
been
a
ever
crazy
since.
story.
I'm like,
That is a crazy story. Wait, before I keep talking, because you can just tell me story after story. I don't know who More Jobs is or who the people are, because when they're on LinkedIn, sometimes you can't see who you are, or Facebook user. But someone's asking, how are LA and APAs? You're APA. And
that's me,
I'm
APA.
LA,
Yes, that's right.
and I'm feeling great. I'm loving. I'm modeling after you, Alan, because when we went to the real estate cruise and I saw that you got to do something that you were passionate about and really just live your best life, but really inform people and educate people at the same time and learn for yourself. I'm like, I want to do the same thing, just in a different way. My focus is a little bit different because of what my journey brought me through. So it's really dope to be able to have gone on that cruise and make stops in all of the islands that we went to and do my own little thing where I got to learn a little bit about how I would do something like that. So that was really dope. And when I heard that you're doing this real estate cruise again, I'm like, bet. I am going to bring a group of people that want to follow me and come on the cruise too. If they want to do the real estate part of it, they can sign up with Caribbean Vibrations. It's great packages. It's very affordable. Considering everything that you get, I don't even have to say that. Because it's not even considering what you get. It's good value regardless. But considering everything you get, you're getting so much more for the money that you're going to invest in yourself, and generationally too, if you're actually going to invest in the real estate. And I know you have a really bomb-ass real estate person with you in Lisa.
Oh, yeah. Yeah,
who was
Lisa's
also
dope.
very
And you were on the cruise with Lisa, so you know Lisa.
Yes, so I know who she is.
And yeah, and that's what it's all about too for us, because again, the reason we're trying to put this together is it's like, we're not making no money off this, but we're just like, we need to have these conversations. And I don't know if someone's going to come and tap me on the shoulder and we do some other business somewhere else. But for us, we just keep seeing that when we don't talk about stuff amongst ourselves as Black people, that's how we lose out. Because we're so concerned of who's the first, who did this, who cares?
Just
The community does it like that. We're trying to, especially because we're coming from so far behind with all the way they put things in place to hold us back. Now we're supposed to be pulling each other forward. Like, I always say, people's got to stand on my shoulders. I know some younger cats, and they're doing amazing on social media, and I never feel no way. So like, I have a little bit of followers. I don't care though, because seeing them do well makes it worthwhile, because a lot of them pay me homage when they see me.
Absolutely.
Right? So the fact that they're doing well, I'm like, that's what we want them to see us on TV so they could go do it.
Exactly.
When I see all these people and I'm like, wow, man, look at this one over here. You look at Tracy, you look at T-Rex, Brandon, so many people in the film industry. Everybody's doing it. It's like, yeah, it's awesome, because that wasn't around 10, 15 years ago.
Exactly. It's so true. And More Jobs also says APA is definitely a pioneer in the game. Very humble and accessible. He's a good dude. I don't know who you paid out there.
No, you know what it is? I'm just blessed, and thank you very much, More Jobs, because we started this, and and I'll tell you this, as an entrepreneur, I think that when you have a business idea, I think you need to also sit down and I wish I did talk to people earlier, because I did make some mistakes, which is good, but I also think from setting up your financing, having a real thought process of how do we as Black people create businesses? Because one of the things, unfortunately, I've seen so many businesses go out of business because they don't have a plan, right? And that could easily, and that's another reason why I said to you, I really want to, now as the brand goes forward, that we need to have more people involved, right? Because we have people helping us, but we need more people involved, so the brand now becomes bigger than that. It's not just about me, it's about how it's going on. I've met some amazing chefs, but unfortunately, they don't know who to pass it on to. So once they're done, the restaurant's done.
Yes.
And we have to be, like, I that's one thing. Big up Ryan Knights, because he does that, ACBN. Like, if you want to do a franchise or something like that, like, because I remember I said to Ryan the first time I met him, like, Ryan, why are you doing this? Because we got BBPA, And Ryan broke down. I was like, oh my God, I never even thought about that. And that's what's always impressing about ACBN, because he thought about it from an entrepreneur standpoint. He's like, you know what? As Black people, we don't have an exit strategy. Because I didn't have one either.
It's true.
Having a conversation with Ryan made me think about it, like, damn, am I going to do this forever? I mean, I love it, but I don't want to do it forever. I want to do other opportunities.
That's one of my questions for you. Are you going to do this forever?
I will be involved forever, but no. We're coming up to 20 years. I'll give you an example. I'll always be there eating food. Yes, I'll always be there eating food. But like myself, I look at, like, when I go to, like, concerts and stuff like that, I'm like, I'm old now, man. Like, I don't know the hot music no more. I know it. But at the same time, too, I also feel that you need, for when it comes to the carnival stuff, music, you need that young energy. That young, I want to experience things, you want to do stuff. So, like me, I'm like, no, that'll be part of the strategy as we move forward, getting more people involved, because it's like, you know, that's what we need. Because you also need to, sometimes, too, people got to realize, not that I've had my time like I'm going out the pasture, but the young people that are coming along and they're doing great, and they can bring so much energy and information and show you different ways to do things and improve your business. So we can't be afraid of them.
Did you see what really stood out for me is Sugarcane. Sugarcane was a big deal for me because they're a brand new band, right? And she's a young designer. She put together this whole thing, and it's almost like they're the youngest, like, you know, doing this to their interpretation of what their parents had given to them. And they did a whole choreographed thing on stage. And that's their interpretation of it. I'm not saying everybody has to follow that, but it was great to see that that was their attempt to participate in something that's really been our parents doing it.
Well, and you know what? Here's a funny thing. We have a gentleman. So, funny enough, I'm going to plug, because Tony will cuss me. But this Saturday, 6 o'clock on Omni is our Caravan episode, right? Sorry, Toronto Carnival. Toronto Caribbean Carnival. I got to remember that. That's our episode. So we'll show you stuff from King and Queen, Pan, Kitty's Carnival. Even though you see it online, we do it our own way. And the parade, again, we were lucky enough. Anthony Barreau, big you up. He got us some footage because I wasn't on stage. And I saw Sugarcane performance. Big up to Candace and Dwayne. I called Dwayne as I'm watching the footage. I'm like, yo, I really like what you guys are doing. I like the way they presented. I love the costumes. And I asked him. I called him right away because I was like, Dwayne, like, you and Candace did good. You know, and I know how hard they work, a husband and wife team, you know, and it's like, and I sometimes, I wasn't happy with everything about Toronto Carnival, but I was happy that they were trying to get the smaller bands across. Because you have Sugarcane, who, and when I say small, it's relative, it's just the numbers thing, right?
Yeah.
But you have Sugarcane, you had Freedom Mass, which is a Jamaican band trying to do their thing.
I saw that.
You have Fantasia, another couple, Will and Lisa Morton. They are amazing, talented people. I used to work with them when I had Matt. Me and Ray brought a section before, so I know how much work and aggravation and stress it is. You know, you also had Sunlime, and you had, am I missing? Costume creators. Costume concept creators, I think I'm saying it right. That, I give so much props to those guys, Corey, Whitfield. Whitfield Belasco has been bringing masks for 55 years. He's never missed a carnival. Never.
Wow.
And that's costume. So he has some young people helping him now. He still does the big masks and the other stuff. But he's 55 years. He's done it. You know, he's in his 70s now. You know,
is that the guy who was at the King show? Who's 75 and he was pulling his King?
No, that's Ronnie. That's Ronnie Devines, right? And Ronnie Devines has been around as a king for he's been playing masks for 50 years. So some of these, it's exactly what you're saying. It's now time for us. You know, and even though we're old, I'm older. You're so young, LA. And even though we're getting up, now it's like I keep looking to the generation in their 20s and 30s because when you think about it, they're the ones who are going to bring around a lot of the change, and we have to kind of follow them. You know, in some of the things because they have a voice. You know, they're using their voice. I mean, I love what they're doing. I don't agree with everything they're doing, but I love their passion for stuff, and we can't be like gatekeepers ourselves.
Exactly. Yeah. So I really appreciate, even like for my own brand, how you and Tony have been so gracious to from time to time sit with me and explain some of the processes. And, you know, it's as simple as asking or even when you guys see somebody doing something and reaching out to them, those things make a big difference when you are trying to build something. And people who've been in the game for so long that are willing to reach out, like the person said, that you're accessible. It's true. You are accessible. You just got to ask.
Yeah, because all I remember is hitting my head on the wall and not having anybody to ask anything for, or at least thinking I didn't. because I
Yeah.
wouldn't ask as well. So when
Yeah.
people ask me for stuff, if I can do it, I'm gonna do it, because at the end of the day, I just think about, they must think something of me to ask in the first place. And I got
Absolutely.
it. It's not easy to ask people for help. It's not easy to ask people for advice. So if they're willing to put themselves out there, I have no problem doing the same.
Yes, I love it. Now, before this is going to wrap up soon because I know you don't have a lot of time, but I wanted to go into the fact that you don't just do Caribbean vibrations, you also throw parties, you do party promotion.
Well, I do some events. I do some events as well too.
Yeah.
So one of the one of the things is with Caribbean vibrations, and it's funny enough, if we used to do events. We're gonna get back to it more, but I'm with a bunch of guys called Goodfellas, and how I got connected with those guys is, you know, they decided we were going to do an all-inclusive party in Toronto, but we're not promoters. We're just a bunch of good fellas. So me and
Well,
three Trini guys, right? And we said, we want to do this because we just remember back home. Whether you're from Grenada, St. Lucia, Barbados, Bahamas, Bermuda, Cuba, Curacao, Jamaica, like all the islands, Grenada. I'm trying to not forget people. St. Vincent,
I
St. Lucia,
know.
St. Kitts and Nevis,
Oh God.
everybody
But
out
once you
there,
start, you
Aruba,
get
Bonaire,
yourself in
Curacao,
trouble.
Dominica. I'm trying to mention all the names, U.S. Virgin Islands. When we go home, wherever your home is, they have those beautiful parties outdoors with the summer, the sun, and and so we said, we want to bring that to Toronto, and we came with the concept of Crave.
Yep.
And in the beginning, it was hard, like LA in the hard. Explain to people that, hey, it's $80, and all you can eat, they're like, what? No, I can't pay all that money.
$80
We
for a
started
party? Out of
$80
mind?
for a party back then, and this is 8 years ago we started. So the good thing is we really focused on the experience, and we said, you know what? If people are going to spend their hard-earned money with us, we got to give them a good experience.
Yeah.
So we started with the cups, and people really liked the cups and the food, and so up until this year. And I got to say, I was very proud of the team because we ended up having an Ontario place this year. We had a
I was
great.
there.
It's hard. It's hard right now with COVID, with all these restrictions. But we had 7 chefs, 15 food stations,
It
multiple
was
bars.
phenomenal. You don't
I
even have
mean,
to talk about it. I'll talk about it for you. It was amazing. And here's the drama. My girlfriends had been to Craves prior. I had
yep.
never been to a Crave.
Mm-hmm.
Contrary to what people think, I don't actually go out and turn up all the time. So I know that's the image, but that's actually not me. So they tell me, you're coming to this party, you're coming to this party. I'm like, I am not going to another party in Toronto, especially just before Caravana. They're like, no, honestly, out of all the parties in Toronto for a mature age group, this is the party to go to. It's like it pulls out the best of what Toronto has to offer in terms of people and vibes and just like good fun. And I didn't believe them until I walked into that place and I got my cup and I went and had the experience that you're talking about. And we ended up, I think we closed down that place.
Yeah, you were there. You were there when I was cleaning up. And even the small things that we try to focus on, right? Because I'll give kudos. I'll give kudos because there's Nigel, Ron, Perry, myself, and the thought process. We have a net. All these people behind the scenes helping us out, and the fans. When we came with the idea with the fans and Flo and everybody did the fans, and we were like, because we think about it really from the perspective of the customer, and the fans were a hit. And then even for example, I don't know if you got your pair of slippers before you left.
I
Right?
sure
But some
did.
women, their feet are hurting, so we had slippers.
Right.
Plus we do the buses, right? The buses, so people at first people are like, I'm not gonna take a school bus. But I'm like, then you can enjoy yourself. Yeah, and you have the fans, see? And people are on the school bus. They love the school bus because then they don't worry. And that was a thing where it was just built for us, by talking to them and seeing. And then even we try to switch up the menu every can, but it really is more about Dave. We do another party day on the Carnival Sunday, and we did one before called Up. We didn't get a chance to do it this year because we couldn't find a so it was a rooftop party because people love a rooftop, right? And for us as Goodfellas, so we're gfpromoevents.com, but for Goodfellas promo, we only like to do parties outside. So we only really have parties from July to maybe September, end of September.
Yeah.
And then we just hibernate after that because we want to bring that Caribbean vibe. So that's what we usually do.
That's so dope. It was a great experience. I recommend Crave big time, and I'll look out for other Goodfella parties because now I know what they're about. I love it. Okay, so
and you know what? Sorry to cut you off real quick, but that party as well, you'd be surprised. There's younger people coming now because Some of my business
That
partners,
is
their kids come now
wonderful.
and they bring friends. So there's a good thing where they'll just go party over one side away from their parents. But again, when you think about the younger generation, they're like bottle service. They're spending way more than
Oh
they would
yeah,
at Crave. So now
yeah.
they're seeing the value. Like, hey, these old people are onto something.
All you can drink, I'm there. So it's totally worth the price. I know it seems a lot at first, but no, when you go there and you have the experience and you're able to just constantly drink and eat as much food as you like, it's kind of like it is completely worth it. And not just like just get a slab of food, like
Oh no.
these vendors take time to present things to
Mm-hmm.
you.
Mm-hmm.
It really was an experience. So I really appreciated that. A couple of quotes that I got well, I had to dig for these things, but I always find something. So this show is my passion and my way of sharing what I love the most about my heritage with the world, is something that you've said about Caribbean Vibrations. You also said, we started out as a family business and it is now a global message of love shared across Canada and throughout the Caribbean. These are love
Oh, I like
letters.
that one. I
Every
like that one.
episode is like a love letter, just like you're saying right here. And I experience it as such. And I think that other people, if you've never watched Caribbean Vibrations, I definitely think you should tune in. How do they see it if they want to
So
watch
they
it?
can check us out so if you have conventional cable, we always premiere the show Saturday at 6 o'clock on
Okay.
Omni in Ontario. It
Mm-hmm.
repeats at 9:30 on Sunday, and then again Friday at 8:30 in the morning. It also airs in Omni BC Sundays at 9 in the morning, and Omni Alberta at 3:30 on Monday. Because online we have it as well. Everything is Carib Vibe TV, CaribVibe.com. So we're on that on Instagram, we're on our website, Twitter, that's everything, and we put out episodes as well there. Especially if you follow, we're more active on Instagram than anything else.
What's this? A lot of love from where? I can't even see.
I can't see the flag. I can't see the flag. I hope I mentioned them. I try to mention it everywhere.
I know, right? I can't see. So I was also going to ask you, you've interviewed so many amazing people and you're all going to be like remembered for something. What is Alan Arthur going to be remembered for?
Well, that's a good question. I think being myself, loving like my Caribbean people, like wholeheartedly loving, because again, I've been exposed to so many different types of people growing up from the Caribbean being in Canada. Also, as much as I love the Caribbean, I really love Canada too. Canada ain't perfect. It's far from it. But it's given me a lot of opportunities that I can't sit here and just be like, oh, Canada. No, Canada's amazing.
Yeah.
And I want to be remembered as a person who really gave his all and cared about people.
Kenya.
Because a lot of people have taken care of me, who've supported me full 100. And I can't do it without them. And that's why I'm always like, when people ask me for help, I try to help as much as I can. Because they've helped me. I've been through some rough patches, and people have been there to support me. So I've always been, I think that's why when people ask me for help or ask me for stuff, I'll always do it. Because I always remember I've been on the other side and people have not helped me. And I don't want to do that to people. I think that just the world needs more kindness. Like you can be busy, but, we can always fit some things in. And if we're just kind to people, like, it's funny. I was with Will and those guys on the weekend, and Will and I were talking. We were driving, and he's like, I'm different now because it's like I'm not worried, like, when someone cuts me off, the road rage and all this stuff. And I said, I kind of like that too. And I'm like, it's just, we don't know if that person's having a bad day. When you're speeding, sometimes I've been speeding, trying to get somewhere, someone cuts me off or traffic's slow, then I look at it as a sign that I might hurt myself because I'm not being rational.
Yes.
You just got to take some time out. And I think that a lot of times if we take the time out to look at other people's situations and just try to be kinder, it'd be a better world. Because,
Absolutely.
we are all going through stuff. We are all going through stuff.
Yeah, it's true. 2 more questions. You sat on a panel, I can't remember when, but it was for Black excellence in the media.
And yes, for my alma mater, University of Windsor.
That's right. And you were with, Allison Duke and some other people. I can't remember. But the point of my question is, what does it mean? Like, what does it mean? What does Black excellence in the media look like?
It can take many different forms. I think before it would be like, oh, someone's got to win an Oscar and all. No, I think if you are good in your art form, and your art form can be many different things, you're telling a true story that's true to yourself in a unique way. I think that's a lot of excellence in media. I watch, like, Jerome. It's funny, Jerome I went to university with. He was a couple years younger than me, and he's on TSN. I watch him on TV, and I'm just like, man, this guy's so good. He's excellent. He's professional. Like, when he's doing his interviews, he has his knowledge. He knows about it. You can tell how much he loves sports.
Yeah.
Allison, I've known from her Citizen Kane days because, funny enough, her Citizen Kane, Jeff Duke,
Yeah.
has a beautiful child with Royette's best friend. So I've known them forever, like in another different way, right?
Wow.
Yeah. So Cree has a daughter same age as my daughter. It doesn't understand
That's
himself, but
great.
so we're all connected. I've watched Allison go from the video fax stuff to when she's doing this stuff, and her being very much in the forefront of the LGBTQ stuff
Yeah.
and all this stuff. And you're seeing her being a true Black woman
Yeah.
and understanding this stuff.
Yourself.
And she's a helpful person too. So when she's doing Oya Media Group, her and Gaddy, and you're sitting there and you're watching them and they're doing all this great stuff, it's just like all it does is inspire me to do more. I'm like, shit, I'm falling behind. Like these guys are killing it. Like I never look at it from the standpoint like, oh, look at what they're doing. And if you look at something that someone's doing and you get upset about it, that's a you problem. That means you have to go do more work because they've done the work to get to where they need to be. So use them as fuel. Ask them questions. That's what I'll do. So I have this young director guy, and I saw him over the weekend. And every time I see him, I'm just like, I gotta big him up because he's doing commercials for Toyota and all these big companies. I know him from before because the first time he came up to me, he's like, I knew him from something. He came and said, I used to watch the show. I love you guys. He's making me. I'm like, oh my God. And I'm seeing this guy doing all these amazing things. I see a huge future for him. So it's just like, it makes me smile, and I think that Black excellence is so many different forms, and I think that we have so many people doing so amazing things, but it's not the conventional excellence, right? It's not you have to win an award to be deemed excellence, because unfortunately some of those things are very subjective and not objective. It is a connected thing of who you know, because we know talented people out there who never get to shine, So I think Black excellence in media is just really those people who really love it, who are doing positive things. I have friends in the States who are Black journalists and really care about the Caribbean and really care about Black people, so they're not doing things just so they can look good. It's also about wanting the community to thrive as well too, and giving back.
Yes, I love it. Our friends, a lot of love from Kenya. It was the Kenyan
Oh,
friend.
wicked.
Yes, big up yourself, Baraka.
All right.
Yes.
I am trying to, hold on, I was trying to come to Kenya. Here's the plan. We were supposed to come to Kenya for the Delicious Festival, and then COVID happened. Because I have to visit Kenya, just like you just came from there. Because again, Nairobi, I was supposed to. Mombasa had a carnival that we wanted to check out. And we're just like, it blows our mind that again, Western society is still not realizing the beauty and intelligence and the richness and the power of Africa. And that's okay. Let them sleep on it.
We don't need to
got to
have
go back and we got to go back and work with those people there. And just do the best we can.
Yeah, just create our own. We have it all. Everything we need, we have. So we
100%.
So my last question for you, Mr. Arthur, is what do you still thirst for in life? What keeps you, and when I say thirsty, think about when you're thirsty, where you would almost drink anything. What is that in your life?
I think it goes back to the people who supported me and the things I've been able to do. Going to, I don't want to say another level, but just fulfilling my potential. Because one thing I was lucky, like for example, as I said to you, like before I went to university, I dropped out of high school, right? And because my father had passed, and I was dealing with all these things, and I didn't know how to deal with vocalizing, young Black men. We don't want to talk about those things.
We don't talk very
much. And my mom kicked me out of my house. She kicked me out when I was 18. No, I deserved it. I tell her all the time too, because you think you're a big man, you need to go. And getting involved with the wrong crowd and doing the wrong stuff and just sitting there one day in a dead-end job. I went back to my former principal who suspended me a couple of times. Because he was one of those guys who always said, you don't understand how much he goes, the amount of potential I see in you. He's like, you could be prime minister if you really wanted to be. He goes, I just see so many great things for you. And I went and I decided, okay, I'm going to go back to finish my high school. Like I finished my high school, but I went and did my OACs. Couldn't get into university because of whatever. So I went to college, right? And funny enough, my girlfriend at the time went to Windsor. So I followed her down there, right? And I went to St. Clair College, and I was supposed to do 2 years of a general arts program before the university. But I busted my ass, got on the dean's list, was there for a semester, and was able to get into university because I got all the recommendation letters. So I always think about that, fulfilling my potential. A lot of people see a lot of great things in me, so that's what keeps me going. Because I know that I'm lucky enough that we're doing stuff, but I also feel like our brand can do so much more and inspire so much people. When I talk to people, they love the way that we that we show Black people, the way that we show the Caribbean. When we do business profiles, when we talk about people's history, it's like we're not trying to sensationalize things they're going through. We're trying to really show who they are, what
Yeah.
they've been through, how they inspire, and what they can do.
Yeah.
So yeah, fulfilling my potential. I would say that's what
I love that. I align with that completely. I had a guest once that told me that they need to die empty, and I feel like I get that. I get the idea of dying empty. You've done all that you can do within what you're capable of, and I like that idea. Just before we leave, I just want you to touch again on there's some information sessions coming up for the real estate cruise.
Okay, so we're going to be actually doing a virtual session because we thought somebody smart LA lady said we should just do virtual, so we're going to do it Wednesday, August 24th at 7 o'clock. So LA will probably be involved as well.
I will be in that one.
So
yeah.
check out our Carib Vibe TV, the website. Please, again, so I'll give you a brief synopsis. We are going to travel from Fort Lauderdale, January 15th to 22nd, 2023. Fort Lauderdale with stops in Bahamas, Jamaica, Grand Cayman, and Cozumel. When we stop there, basically, we get off the boat, we go and check 2 places, and then we have lunch. Because what we want to do is we want to show you the different types of properties that are available or investment opportunities available on those islands. And then the lunch is really for you to meet more people from that island, whether it's the bank or whether it's the investment organization or whether it's the real estate agent. And then the rest of the afternoon is yours. Now, if you're chilling with LA, probably might not see you except for the boat, and then we'll hang out on the boat.
Yeah, we'll definitely hang out on the boat. It's going to be a vibe. You know, real estate is something that I believe in too. So it's not like it's not going to be so absent from it being part of what we want to do. It could be that is what we do.
Can I plug one more thing real quick?
Yes, of course.
If you get a chance to watch the show this Saturday, and if you get a chance, go to our website, join our mailing list. We are giving away a 5-night stay at Tobago, the Grafton Villas in Tobago. So Grafton Beach Resort in Tobago. So you just join our mailing list, and once you're on our mailing list, you're entered into the draw that we're going to be having August 23rd.
You know what? Not enough people take these chances. Sign up because you just never know.
It's a free hotel stay. That's usually the biggest cost is your hotel stay.
Exactly. Yes. Just go and sign up. I endorse that message. How do we reach you, Alain?
Carib Vibe TV. CaribVibe TV.com. All social media, the same thing. Carib Vibe. Thank you. Put it up. Carib Vibe TV. That's what you reach us on for everything. And again, don't forget the cruise is January 15th to 22nd, 2023. We're on every Saturday at 6 p.m. on Omni TV, and we're on all our social media platforms.
I love it. Thank you so much for being in the Cocktale Hour with myself. You've inspired Black wealth and Black entrepreneurship today through this intimate and sobering conversation. And if you'd like to sponsor or advertise with our show, hit up Banky from Business Takeout, because that is what this is all about. Thank you, Alain. You inspired us today. Die empty, everybody.
If you enjoy our programming and want to help support Black entrepreneurship, please donate today. www.businesstakeout.com/donate.